Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Danny Horvitz, and I sit on the executive of the NATO Association of Canada. I have the pleasure of being its honorary solicitor. Our mission, as you all know, as an organization, is to promote peace, prosperity, and security through knowledge and understanding of the importance of NATO. We strive to educate and engage Canadians about NATO's and NATO's goals, and to ensure that Canada has an informed citizenry able to contribute to discussions about our country's role on the world stage. And I'm so pleased today to be here to engage with a key friend to Canada, His Excellency Agron Budjaku, the Ambassador of North Macedonia to Canada. It is a post that he has held since 2022, and in addition to that, he has a very impressive career, which we'll learn about momentarily. He served as Vice President of the Parliament there, acting as Minister of Transport and Communication, and he's also served as the Ambassador to France for more than a decade before coming here to Canada. So thank you, Your Excellency, for being here. And now I'd like to introduce our three moderators for today, Huda Kashif, Selina Khan, and Raven Sai. Over to you to find folks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Horvitz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Diplomatic Speaker Series, exploring the partnership and collaboration with NATO allies and global partners in navigating today's complex and challenging security environment. My name is Huda Kashif, and I'm a fundraising coordinator at the NATO Association of Canada.
And my name is Selina Khan, and I am the lead membership coordinator of the NATO Association of Canada.
And my name is Raven Sai. I work alongside Selina as a membership coordinator.
We are honored to be joined today by His Excellency Agron Budjaku, the Ambassador of North Macedonia to Canada. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we begin with the Ambassador's opening remarks, I would like to briefly introduce His Excellency to our audience. Ambassador Agron Budjaku is a senior diplomat, policymaker, and expert in international relations with over 25 years of experience in government, diplomacy, and global affairs. He holds a master's degree in international politics from the Université Libre de Bruxelles, which he obtained in 1999. He began his career in public service as the Member of Parliament in North Macedonia, serving 2 mandates, and was elected Vice President of the Parliament from 2003 to 2004, where he played a key role in legislative decision-making and parliamentary leadership. In 2004, he was appointed Minister of Transportation and Communication, a role he held until 2005, where he oversaw infrastructure development and transportation policy. He later served as director of the Crisis Management Center on 2 occasions, from 2005 to 2006, and again from 2016 to 2020, leading national efforts in emergency coordination and institutional resilience. Between 2010 and 2015, Ambassador Budjaku served as Ambassador of North Macedonia to France, with non-resident accreditation to Portugal and Morocco, and also served as permanent representative to UNESCO, where he held several leadership roles, including Vice President of the General Assembly and Chair of the Special Committee. He has also been actively engaged in parliamentary diplomacy, including as the head of delegation to the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, contributing to North Macedonia's Euro-Atlantic integration and international engagement. And since 2022, he has served as North Macedonia's ambassador to Canada, where he continues to strengthen bilateral relations and advance North Macedonia's diplomatic priorities. In addition to his diplomatic and political career, the ambassador has contributed to academia as a visiting professor and continues to engage in public discourse through speaking engagements, writing, and media commentary. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Agron Budjaku.
And Ambassador, at this point, we invite you to begin with some opening remarks before we begin with the moderated questions by Huda and Raven.
First of all, good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for having me. It's very interesting timing. What is in view of the recent visit of Mr. Rutte in Macedonia, North Macedonia, and also in view of what is happening all over the world in these times, and it's going to be interesting for me to hear your point of view, and I will in questions, and also I would like to contribute to try to understand from our point of view of North Macedonia, a new country, a new relatively member of NATO, what we can contribute to this situation.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador. Speaking of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, during his recent visit to North Macedonia, he praised your country's contributions to NATO missions and support for Ukraine through initiatives such as the Partnership for Ukraine's Reconstruction and Long-Term Support. Since joining NATO in 2020, how does North Macedonia view its growing role within the alliance, and what are its main defense and modernization priorities moving forward?
So we had, as a new country, after dissolution of former Yugoslavia, we had a difficult path to join the Western alliances, if I may say so, because Yugoslavia was non-aligned, and we had a very sorry, I had to. We had a very difficult path to arrive at NATO. We were promised to be member in 2008, and finally, 2020, we became a full member. And the visit was of Mr. Rutte was in a very important period of time for not only for North Macedonia, for Western Balkans as well, because the situation is very complicated worldwide and also in our region due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and all over the world in this reordering the world order. We are fulfilling the obligation that we have under NATO agreement or signing. So we have achieved already 2% of our GDP for defense. We are working on arriving at 3.5 at 5% in longer term. We have been participating, even when I was in the parliament. Since then, we have participated in several missions of NATO, and very interesting in all the, because it has to go to be approved by the parliament, and all the time there was when it was questioning NATO or discussing about our participation, there was a unanimity of 120 MPs of our parliament. So all the time we have fully supported the participation of our military in missions of NATO in Afghanistan, and also recently in Ukraine, in Latvia and Bulgaria and Romania. We have participated in a mission of Althea, which is a mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And also very interesting to mention, and nobody is talking about it, is that I don't know why it should be now. It's very interesting to raise this question because we had with a difference from other republics that became independent countries and that had to go through a armed conflict, starting with Slovenia, part of Yugoslavia in 1991, then Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina was a bad example of a civil war because they proclaimed independence, and the Serbian or Yugoslav army attacked, and there was a long conflict. And Macedonia and Montenegro didn't have such a bad experience. We didn't have such an armed conflict for our independence, but on the other side, we had a small conflict, interethnic, internal in 2001, which was unfortunately ended in 6 months' time, and we had signed the so-called Ohrid Agreement, which changed the constitution and enabled all the non-majority, as we call, or minority in the country to be equal as in Canada, in that sense, in respecting all the ethnic groups that compose the country, which is multi-ethnic, multicultural, and multi-religious. So after the conflict, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. The chair of the OSCE delegation to Skopje, to our capital, Mr. Craig Jenes, and we became friends, and he contributed a lot, the Canadian, after he held a very high position in the United Nations. He contributed a lot, and after the conflict, we had a very good, excellent management of the post-conflict situation, which was helped a lot by Mr. Janus, and also the first mission of European Union military mission was in Macedonia in 2003. So nobody's speaking about that, but now I think it's time to emphasize, because it's very important, because EU decided to send a mission which was supported logistically by NATO. So it was the first EU military mission in the history of EU, but supported by NATO. And that mission was called Concordia. It was a very successful one. And we are proud to be an example of excellent post-conflict management and achieving a functional multi-ethnic democracy in a relatively short time for a new country, independent country since 1991. So with regard to our efforts, we are trying to catch up with NATO standards. Also, we are proud to have Deputy Secretary General, my former colleague, Radmila Šečerinska, is now Deputy Secretary of, she was Minister of Defense at the time that we joined NATO, and she is now the Deputy Secretary General of NATO. So in that sense, the message of Mr. Rutte, who met, of course, the President of the country, the Prime Minister, and the Speaker of the Parliament, and he had a long speech in the Parliament. He was very well welcomed. So in that sense, we are doing excellently in this period, very complicated for everybody.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. You mentioned that North Macedonia recently surpassed NATO's 2% defense spending benchmark, with discussions now emerging across the alliance about a path towards 5% by 2035. How does the North Macedonian government balance increased defense commitments with domestic and economic social priorities? And how is public support for these investments being maintained?
Well, no, as everywhere in this time, especially recently after the conflict in Hormuz, that the prices, inflation, and everyday worries are on the top of the agenda. So, but on the other side, having in mind what NATO has done for us and what contribution NATO has given to the Western Balkans in general, I mean, intervention in Bosnia and Herzegovina, also in Kosovo, and there is still a support of NATO, and this demands or obligation that we have in order to secure our defense are received by, I will say, 50-50 by majority of population as something that has to be done. But also there are some reaction from people who are having difficulties in this time to regarding the inflation and the other problems. But nevertheless, it is not on the top of the agenda of news media. So something that it's not in the agenda or in the news is. In this case, a good things, because they will not provoke some kind of reaction, especially having in mind the influence of the Russian propaganda and also other big powers that historically have different, different interests and influence in the Balkans. So I must say it's we are continuing to fulfill our obligation, and also the treatment that we had from NATO with regard to accession process, because we were blocked from 2008 in Bucharest summit to 2019 and 20 till we when it was decided that Macedonia is welcome to NATO, but it was postponed because of the Greek veto regarding the name issue, and then we resolved the name issue in 2019. We became member in 2020. So it was something that was eagerly waited for, and in that sense, being a member, I will speak also about the EU, is something that is having a positive impact on the public opinion, because at the end of the day, NATO fulfilled the promise, whereas comparing to EU, that we are a candidate country from 2005, they are not up to their promises. So in that regard, I think this influences the positive approach vis-a-vis NATO, which is also considered as a antechamber of EU, providing security for investment and for further advancement in our way to EU. So this is, I should put it, a complex issue, but complementary, which means that with NATO we are satisfied, but with EU now there are some reaction because of the constant delays of our path and closer rapprochement with the EU.
Speaking of the European Union, North Macedonia officially launched its EU accession talks in 2022, while of course continuing to play what NATO has described as a crucial role in maintaining stability in the Western Balkans. What do you see is the main internal challenges still facing North Macedonia on its EU path, and how has NATO membership influenced both regional stability and the country's European integration process?
So, as I already said, the NATO membership, with having in mind what happened with other countries that from former Warsaw Pact or Eastern Bloc, Yugoslavia was in the middle, but nevertheless was not a part of the Western alliances or EU or NATO. The changes of the everything in societies, in GDPs, in development, in fulfilling contemporary standards of human rights and development, etc., that countries that were part of former Yugoslavia, as we did, we were. For example, Slovenia and Croatia has, since joining the EU, had made a substantial progress in every field, socio-economic, etc. Also with what has happened in Bulgaria and Romania, which are also a part of Eastern Bloc, but after joining EU, there was a remarkable changes that we as neighbors, we have visited these countries, and we can, and our citizen can see what is happening directly with regard to the standard of living, to the societal change and everything that the EU and NATO membership brought. So in this regard, we were one of the countries, not one, but we were in 2001, North Macedonia, Republic of Macedonia then, signed the Stabilization and Association Agreement. We were the first country of the Western Balkans that we signed in 2001, and then 2005, and I was in government, so participated in celebration of the candidate status accorded by the EU. But unfortunately, all these processes has been slowed down because of our neighbors. Sometimes you don't choose neighbors, you have neighbors. So it's something that, although we have tried to be and developed friendly relations with our neighbors, and also we were open to progressing and advancing our bilateral relations, there was some obstacles, first from Greece, as I said, with the name issue, because they objected the Republic of Macedonia, which was Republic of Macedonia, called in Yugoslav Federation, to have this name as an independent state. And after a long period of negotiation under the auspices of United Nations, and Mr. Nimitz was a special envoy at the time, we finally arrived at a compromise to add North in our name of the country, which means extension, having in mind that for the ancient Macedonia of times of Alexander the Great was a territory that now, after the Second Balkan War in 1913, was divided in three. 50% of the ancient territory, the beginning, not after the campaigns of Alexander the Great, but at the beginning, Macedonian territory, now 50% is in Greece, 15% is in Bulgaria, and 35% is my country now. So speaking from that point of view, geographically is north of that Macedonia. But from the other side, there was some big reaction. By the way, I'm Albanian of origin from North Macedonia. My wife is ethnic Macedonian, so the ethnic Macedonians took it very, very emotionally because they are calling themselves Macedonian. So the change of the name was not so simple thing to do, and it demanded a very big sacrifice that we did in order to join NATO. So that was the main motivation and initiation of changing the name. And practically there was a big reaction, but nevertheless, the NATO membership and the future EU membership was in a way a carrot, which and the motivation for our people to finally accept the changing of the name. But after that, we have several issues now that was raised by our other neighbor, Bulgaria, regarding the contestation that they make regarding the language and the history of Macedonia or Macedonians. So for the moment, we are in a way in an impasse, in a situation where we had an open door as a candidate country to begin the negotiations together with Montenegro and Albania. Serbia started before, but they are also stuck somewhere with the acquis communautaire. But we are in a situation now that we have signed in 2022 a kind of agreement or with the European Union, which says that the moment that we solve the issue of one of the Bulgarian demands, then we can start negotiation for acceding or joining the European Union. As you said in the introduction, thank you for the compliments of my CV, all of you. I've been participants and directly involved in all these issues, and I can say it is very difficult to manage internally and externally, because in a way foreign policy depends on internal policy and domestic policy, but it can influence a lot our foreign policy. And diplomatically, we have done every efforts to get assurance for Bulgaria in the future, because one condition was put in our pre-accession agreement with the EU, supported by 27 now members, that we have to put our constitution, which had changed in 2001, defines the state as a state of ethnic Macedonians, bearers of sovereignty. Also, the others, ethnic groupation or people, minority, we call them non-majority, Albanians, which are 25 to 28%, and then we have Serbs, we have Turks, and our Roma population, and also Valach population, which all of them are mentioned in the preamble of the constitution. Now the Bulgaria insists that the Bulgarian, although they were not a lot declared in the latest census as Bulgarian, be put in the preamble of the constitution, which is an issue which is complicated because in order to do that, we have to change the constitution, and to change the constitution, we need a 2/3 of the MPs in the parliament. So to achieve this is a complicated issue because it's an emotional one, and our argument as a government is very logical. We would do that if Bulgaria, because the practice of European Union, and I lived in Brussels for 11 years and worked for some project of EU Commission. The problem is that at the beginning, when they started with 6 and arrived at 27 members, the process of adhesion of new countries was much simpler than now. It means that the political agreement was made, and then the country was accepted. The case with Spain, Portugal after dictatorship, with Greece, with Ireland, with Great Britain, which United Kingdom, they changed 2 or 3 times the position, but nevertheless, it was easier then. But after, when we were to become members, the process is complicated very much, in the sense that it become more democratic. The Parliament, the European Parliament, has much more power now of the Maastricht Treaty. The public opinion in the democracy is very important, which means that the public opinion is, in a way, has a enlargement fatigue, so-called. They have augment the number, and now it's 27. And sometimes the populist parties, they took this opinion for their propaganda, which is xenophobic sometimes, or often. So it's complicated for them as well. So we have to work a lot. Just an example, it's nothing to do directly with NATO, but indirectly, yes. When I was minister, we had the so-called acquis communautaire, that we have to fulfill the law, the acts and democratic standards of European Union. That was 40,000 pages. Now it's 120,000 pages. So we have to apply this law and regulation of the European Union, not just to translate and to say we have applied, but we have to practically implement it through laws and through bills in the parliament. So it's a very complicated process now, in a way that adds up to democratize, to achieve the democratic standards of Western Europe, of European Union. But on the other way, it's very difficult after not centuries, millennium under foreign occupation, dogmatic Ottoman Empire, Byzantine Empire, after missing Enlightenment and all the development of Western Europe, now to achieve the democratic standards that the EU has. So this is a very long process. Nevertheless, I told you at the beginning, I was in Parliament, I can speak hours, but you can ask us following question. I hope I make it clear that we have now a difficulty that we are trying to find a solution, and I hopefully will do, because we want to start negotiation and join as quick as possible the EU.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your detailed response regarding the EU and kind of more domestic politics of North Macedonia. But moving more towards international partnerships through NATO and the broader Euro-Atlantic engagement, how do you view the current state of Canada-North Macedonia relations, and what areas of collaboration, such as trade, investment, and security, hold the greatest potential for growth, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, because finally I'm ambassador to Canada, and this is my job primarily. When I arrived in 2022 in November, there have been 4 winters. I don't know if any ambassador mentioned you, because we don't count years, we count winters. So I've been here for 4 winters. And at the beginning it was very difficult, because we are objectively, we are a small country for foreign trade or trade relations. So we are far from Canada, and Canada, as everybody knows, 75% of the trade was with the United States. So there was no particular interest of Canada to advance our trade relations. We have a very small amount of mutual trade. I've tried, and I will continue to do so, but it was difficult. Now, after what is happening with Canadian South neighbor, and the developments is that, especially after the Prime Minister Mr. Carney's speech in Davos, which was a very important one. Although, if I may, I have a great respect for Canadian Prime Minister, sincerely, not very diplomatically, and I think it's the right person at the right time. But I think that he mentioned rupture. I wouldn't characterize that as a rupture of relations with the United States. I would rather say crack, because historically there have been periods that the United States have pursued a kind of isolationist policy, and then again they have changed and became the leader of the democratic world. So I hope that this temporary crack will be overcome in the future, and that they will continue. But in the meantime, it is a positive situation, a sign for me, for our small countries, with regard to what Canada is pursuing now, diversifying the trade, diversifying its relations with other countries, which is very important for us. And I want to make use of that moment to establish a new relation in trade, and especially I'm concentrated on the know-how. I was fascinated by a panel discussion in occasion 2 years ago about the advanced technology that Canada uses in agriculture. I was not aware that Canada is so advanced in that manner. Also, in the green energies, there is a strategy, for example, for hydrogen. And hydrogen is in 30 kilometers from my hometown. They found the biggest reserve in Europe. Now is a second of green hydrogen, which is one of the energetic fuels in the fuel for the future. Although it's in Albania, but I was born in 3 kilometers from the border. So they're very interesting in the future to make use of this Canada position, and I will do my best. There is one big investment, relatively for us big, of Magna in the town in North Macedonia, so successful that they are now continuing. Magna is a company that makes parts for automobiles or vehicles, so it's very, very big and important. And I hope that other Canadian companies will follow suit. I'm trying to, through our diaspora and through contacts that I have, to establish new relations, advancing the know-how and trade in general between our two countries, which are very friendly allies. And very sincerely, if you go to not only to North Macedonia, in the Balkans, and you say you are Canadian, you are immediately positively welcomed from everybody. So yeah, this image of Canada is very positive, and that can serve. And also we have our diaspora, which is very, very integrated, may I say so, and contributing to the Canadian society, economy, sport, as such.
Thank you for that, Ambassador. What an interesting take on the Davos speech by our Prime Minister. You mentioned energy, and I wanted to ask, energy security has become a major strategic priority for both NATO and, of course, the European Union. particularly amid broader geopolitical tensions in Europe. What steps is North Macedonia taking to diversify its energy sources and expand renewable energy capacity while also balancing affordability, economic development, as you've also previously mentioned, and regional energy cooperation?
Yes, one of the key words in today's world in geopolitics and is energy, because energy is something in a way that is limited, but in other way, having in mind the solar energy is not so limited. But nevertheless, we are since we are deprived of the resources, energy resources that you have, I mean, as Canada, and we have invested a lot in solar energy and wind energy, and also, as I said, with regard to what has been found in the Western Balkans, the hydrogen as a new source of energy. There was a concrete step taken by the Macedonian government with regard to the energy and sustainable development. In 2025, in Skopje, in our capital, it was end of October, there was a forum, a big forum, regarding the title or the topic was energy for sustainable development, and there was very interesting. There were very interesting discussion with a big number of participants from all over the world with regard to the unlocking the green potential, green finance facility, and UN joint program. So United Nations have been years from now, if I'm not mistaken, made a long-term sustainable development goals, and one of these is also the energy, which is becoming more and more important, especially nowadays. So we have been focused on developing. As I said, we have a lot of sun, so we can borrow a little bit to Canada. But we have a lot of sun, and we're going to make use of it, and also wind. Our position is in a way we are a landlocked country, but nevertheless we are in a crossroad of very two important corridors. There are some so-called pan-European corridors. If you are familiar with that, there are big corridors that connect Europe, and one of them is number 10, which goes from Budapest to Athens, to Greece, to Thessaloniki. The other is east-west, number 8, which goes from the Adriatic coast, Italy, to Bulgaria and to the Black Sea, which is very important for NATO and for the security, because it connects NATO members with Bulgaria and Romania, and the Black Sea, which is very strategically important. So all this cooperation goes in a way that we have built, because Yugoslavia was a very interesting case in the past. If I have time, I think, to explain a very important moment. We were, according to the famous Stalin-Churchill agreement in Yalta, there was a partition of the Balkans with zone spheres of interest, and whereas Bulgaria and Romania and Albania were part of the Russian or Soviet influence during the Cold War, Greece was part of the Western alliance. Then Yugoslavia, they couldn't decide how to agree what to do with Yugoslavia, and they say 50-50. So 50% was going to be under the Soviet interest zone, and 50% under the Western or American during the Cold War. So we were in a situation very complicated, neither there nor there, or also with many advantages that I benefited with regard to the passport. The citizens of the Eastern Bloc, they didn't have international passports so easy, or very rarely. They couldn't travel a lot. And also regarding the freedoms of human rights that we enjoyed much more. But on the other side, we were not interconnected in a full sense of word, neither with the Eastern Bloc, neither with the Western. So we were somewhere in the middle. And whereas they had established European Union, for example, and Warsaw Pact and their trade, etc., we were in the middle. So we don't have this interconnectivity with regard to everything, and also energy transportation. So now we are building as a new country in a very complicated period, and also in scarcity of energy resources. So we are doing our best, and that's why this forum, which was very important, with the new National Energy and Climate Plan that we have adopted as a government from 25 to 2030, we have put or should fulfill 61 measures for a stronger renewable growth. So that there are, how should I put it to sound diplomatically? There are a lot of demands in that acquis communautaire, as I said, 120,000 pages. But on the other side, this enables us to catch up and to apply the highest standard that Western Europe has established for a long period of time, and now we have to apply. So this is, in a way, good for us that we learn from the best, of course, Canada as well. In that regard, the Canada is much advanced in that democracy practices, tolerance, multiculturalism, etc., but also in the new technologies that are rapidly developing, having in mind that the fossil fuels one day will disappear, that will be no more. Not talking about climate change, but also practically. So we are, in the future, we have enough hydropower, not just Canada, but we have enough hydropower, and so a lot of sun. And so this is our future. In that regard, is much brighter than, I should put it, in other regards.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. I think it's so important that we work together as allies and tackle this very important issue of energy security. But moving more towards kind of warfare, as cyber threats become increasingly sophisticated and central to modern security challenges, how is North Macedonia strengthening its cyber defense and digital resilience capabilities? In what ways does the country hope to contribute to NATO's broader efforts and combat cyber threats and hybrid warfare?
Well, this is a very important point and very interesting developments with regards to the, as I said, the Western Balkan was a region when big interests, civilization, cultures, religions meet and clash from time to time. But also we had a period of coexistence of different religions that we have in Macedonia as well. So we have gone through different challenges after the breakup of Yugoslavia, but we have managed somehow to proclaim our independence, to be recognized by the United Nations, and although with sacrifices of changing the name and the flag, by the way, because of the Greek objections, etc. But nevertheless, we achieved this. There is no problem, as in Kosovo or Bosnia and Herzegovina, for example, of being denied independence or complicated situation internally and externally. With this regard, we have achieved a great success. But now we have a very concrete example of cyber attacks, which goes from hacking the ministries or also with big Russian propaganda. If I may, I would comment something differently, that when I was waiting for the agreement coming to Canada, it took some time, but I'm not complaining, and the so-called agreement to come here. And at the time, the war started in Ukraine, and I had time to exchange some opinion through the social media. And there was a time when we had to block the Russian channels, which were openly propagandistic, and we followed suit the European Union because we follow European foreign policy. It's our obligation as candidate country, and we do. And well, the measures that the European Union takes, we apply as well with regard to Russia or to any other issue. So we follow that policy, but also we blocked Russia Today and some channels. And there was some reaction of people who presented themselves in Macedonia like pro-Western or pro-democracy, but nevertheless, there was some sympathizing with Putin and said, how come that we block the TV channels of Russia when we are aiming to a free speech and the Western values? And my response was, I might say it was original, that at the time Putin threatened, and he does that from time to time with a nuclear bomb and nuclear attacking the NATO countries, forgetting that also NATO countries can respond. And the Belgian minister said that, but nevertheless. And my comment was that in that situation, you cannot respond to someone who threatens you with nukes, with nuclear bombs, with Voltaire. Voltaire is for defending free speech. So in order to respond to that kind of Russian policy, historically, you have to have a position of strength, a position of restricting some liberties because they were misused by in that case, by Russia. So we have been under these attacks, but with help of NATO, and we are part of this. We have the memorandum of understanding, 2020, I think. Mrs. Shcherinska, which now Deputy Secretary of NATO. She was Minister of Defense of advancing cooperation in cybersecurity, which is very important. And also we had a visit of NATO dignitaries, and I was present during the visit to establish as much as possible closer cooperation. We had a very talented young man in IT technologies in our country, so we are paying a lot of attention of that, and hopefully, so I don't know what will happen in the future, but of course that we are a good partner of NATO in cooperation and assisting, also contributing to the cybersecurity, but also I'm trying also to establish connection with Ottawa University, which they have some programs which are very good in cybersecurity, to make an exchange of students, etc. Perhaps other university as well in the future to make exchange and to make use of our talents in that regard.
Well, as you kind of already touched on in terms of the youth, the youth workforce and the youth balance, North Macedonia, like many countries in the region, faces challenges related to youth immigration and workforce retention. What are your government's key priorities in higher education, vocational training, and youth employment, and what measures are being taken to create more opportunities for young professionals within the country?
Is that, you have, and I'm in Canada. I suppose you're all Canadian. Now, because NATO Association of Canada, so you are a different experience of people coming, and we have experienced people leaving. So it's very damaging for us in a way, this brain drain, and also the workforce, because if you invest a lot in doctors and medical staff, medical sisters, etc., so you invest a lot, and then one day, all of a sudden, they will leave for usually Germany or Sweden. So, but this is something that has been historically so, traditionally in the Balkans. as part of the poorest region in Europe in general. So with Italy, South Italy at the time. So the people in Greece, they move to for a better life, and there's something that cannot be stopped in no way. But we are like the others, neighbors also are facing these problems. So the brain drain but when I was in Paris as ambassador, there was a discussion about 350,000 IT and finance specialists from France, lived in London. So they moved to Great Britain, and there was a lot of doctors from Germany working in Norway, because Norway has higher salaries and higher standards of living. So this is something that cannot be stopped, but nevertheless, we should try as a government and responsible politically and diplomatically, as you wish, to do our best to stop this hemorrhage. It's a French or English word. Sometimes I've been a long time in a French-speaking world, so you don't mind if I use this so the brain drain and so we are trying to now with a higher standard of education and to learn from you as well, because I'm very happy I have two teenagers here. They follow the system. Your system education is great because you emphasize the critical thinking, and it's totally different from us because we have been living in long period of dogmatic thinking. So you have to learn by heart what is in school. But here the initiative and the system is motivating the critical thinking. And so this we have made several reforms. Now we have preparing a new law on education. As I said, it's good to apply the EU standards, high standards, and to learn from Canada as well. Establish some contracts with universities here to apply the best models and to prepare. But all depends on the development of the economy. If they are good, paid good, and they are IT specialists in my country. They are looked for, and with this outsourcing and new technologies, they can work from there. But nevertheless, we are trying to through programs, trying to make a better condition of living, to stop this brain drain, and also young people leaving the country, which is big damage, because there is a big asset for every country to have a workforce and young people and talented people, and to keep them.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your input and answering all of our questions with such great detail. Before we move to our closing remarks, is there any follow-up comments that you would like to say or add?
Well, because the involvement on diaspora, and I will mention, I don't know if you know, it is known in Canada, we have organizing traditionally a project which has been named decades ago Macedonia 2025. Now we're at 26, but it continues, that we gather diaspora eminent people from all over the world. And there are two Canadians of Macedonian origin, which are very well known. One is John Bitov, who is owner of Rapster, and also Jordan Bitov, which is owner of Toronto Star. So these are eminent people who are helping for developing and advancing our relations, and also for now they were in Macedonia, and I met them though. So I think that with NATO as a guarantor of security, and with the new developments and the movement of people, and people of they are keeping their tradition, and they don't forget the mother country, and they are trying to contribute, and with that strengthening the trade relations in the future, with the diversifying of trade that Canada is proclaiming under the respected Mr. Carney. I think we can in the future enhance and advance our relations. And I invite Canadians to visit North Macedonia and the region, especially during winter, not only to go to Central America, but to come as well in North Macedonia and the region.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but we would like to convey our sincerest thanks to His Excellency Agron Budjaku for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us and for all of your thoughtful responses. Thank you for everyone else who joined us today as well, and I will pass it over to Mr. Horvitz for some concluding remarks.
I just wanted to say thank you again for your time, Your Excellency, and thank you to our moderators for doing an excellent job with the questions. We are so pleased to continue to engage with the North Macedonian community here in Canada. We are so pleased to have you as a friend and ally of ours in NATO. And I want to say on behalf of the NATO Association of Canada, thank you for your time today and for all of the great, meaningful work you do on behalf of your country to ours.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you so much.